LAFC faithful, good morning, and welcome to the most LAFC podcast on earth. That's right, this is Defenders of the Bank episode 355, where we talk all about LAFC's victory over San Jose at BMO Stadium as Denis Bouanga, he snapped a long drought, but Sergi Palencia snapped a really long drought, just like I asked about in the press conference. 2,888 days in between goals for Sergi Palencia. May 14th, 2017 for Barcelona B. And now he gets his first one in an LAFC shirt, and nobody was happier for him than Denis Bouanga. He absolutely loved that. Lechero, Cougar, Ruben, everybody else in the chat, good morning and welcome. Thank you guys for joining us here on Defenders of the Bank. And as you can tell, this is a solo scarf endeavor, and what a match to talk about before we get into the San Jose match. Of course, you guys have seen me over the past few weeks with my buddy Chris Lafferty, who has been filling in for Philly during this time. Unfortunately, Lafferty had a last-minute thing come up, couldn't make it, but he wanted to share something. He ran into Benjamin and his two daughters at the match, who he got to talk to for a little while last night, and big fans of the show, and they had really nice things to say about us. I think I do know Benjamin and his two daughters because they make those really cool bracelets, and he was very excited to say thank you for a friendship bracelet and for getting to meet them. So I wanted to give that shout out for him off the top because that was something that was really, really important. And I know he really wanted to talk about Maxime Chanot on this one, and a little bit to get into as I asked about that in the press conference as well. So a couple things to deep dive into this one at the end of the episode. We want to remind everybody that the Mo Facio Futsal Court fundraising effort is still underway. Excuse me. LAFC, the LAFC Foundation, and the 3252 continuing to partner to build that futsal court in Cudahy. So make sure you check out LAFC.com/Mo-Facio. Yes, apparently Chris Lafferty does run, but he's not running from this episode. He just had a couple of things going on. Make sure you check out the beautiful Mo Facio mural on the north end wall when you are next at BMO Stadium. And I'm going to keep rolling right through. We're going to get into this day in LAFC history. No news and notes to go over, but this day in LAFC history, the match occurring on April 12th, and not much in the way of LAFC distant history. So we want to take a look at April 13th. And April 13th, a very good day in the annals for LAFC, as it has 2-0 wins on that date. First, April 13, 2018, our maiden voyage into MLS. LAFC defeating Vancouver on the road 2-0 behind goals from Carlos Vela and Diego Rossi. Omar Gaber making his MLS debut as a substitute for Marco Urena in the 81st minute. And then 1 year later, April 13, 2019, LAFC defeating FC Cincinnati 2-0. It was FC Cincinnati's maiden voyage in MLS. Carlos Vela also scoring 1 year later on that date, along with a player that we would see yesterday, Mark Anthony K. It was a very welcomed homecoming for Mark Anthony K. Oscar, good morning, my friend. So Mark Anthony K coming up in this day in LAFC history and also in this match for San Jose. And again, as Ruben says, and as Oscar says it in the chat, I got to say good morning to the millions. And millions. See, I don't know who said that, but they did. Again, thank you all for joining us here on episode 355 of Defenders of the Bank. Let's take a quick look at LAFC 2. I know we mentioned this in passing during the Miami match, but we were all a little too pissed off to give our boys their props at LAFC 2. So just want to make sure we mention that in a match that featured 35 fouls, 2 penalty shot goals, and 2 red cards, LAFC 2 defeated Tacoma Defiance 3-2 at Titan Stadium last Thursday. Matt Evans with a brace for LAFC 2 in the win. The boys now have 10 days off before heading on the road for their next 2 matches, taking on Real Monarchs in Utah on Wednesday, April 23rd, and then taking on the entire Town FC on April 27th in beautiful Moraga, California. Angel City, let's take a quick peek at our roommates at BMO Stadium. Alyssa Thompson and Riley Tiernan each assisted on the other's goal as Angel City FC defeated Houston Dash 3-1 in Houston on Saturday. That means Angel City remains undefeated on the season, 2 wins, no losses, 2 draws, and they currently sit in 4th place in NWSL. Their next match is Friday, April 18th at BMO Stadium. So this coming Friday, where they welcome my favorite player in all of women's football, Rose Lavelle. Rose Lavelle and Gotham FC playing on Friday, April 18th. And as a reminder for all your ACFC needs, please be sure to listen to the Angel City Chicks and follow at Angel City Chicks on all your social media platforms. I woke up at 6:30 this morning, had no breakfast yet, rewatched the match, went all along Twitter to try to find anything about Maxime Chanot to see if he was okay. Good morning to Mario as well in the chat. We love you guys. And to everybody on Instagram, don't worry. I haven't forgot about you. Manny Guzman providing a new wrinkle into the Dolo out people. I don't think that Dolo should be out. Again, this is Scarf here. I'm still a Dolo majorly in person because he can't finish chances. He can only put in the tactics to create them. And as you've seen, we've been doing plenty of that. But I like his little wrinkle there that he throws in. Manny Guzman says, Dolo out, Chiellini in. I am all for as much Giorgio Chiellini as we could possibly have at LAFC all the time. As you all know, that is my favorite player in the history of the black and gold. And other than my boy Gigi Buffon, Giorgio would understand Chiellini's number 2 on my list of all time. Eddie Segura says, no celebrities at the game yesterday. They were all at Coachella. No. Our good friend of the podcast, goalkeeper for AFC Richmond. That's right, Zorro. Mo Judy Lamore was in the house last night. It was really nice to see him as well. That was pretty cool to see Mo Judy Lamore there. But listen, it was a fun night to be at BMO. Of course, the homecoming of Chicho Arango and Mark Anthony Kay for San Jose, and a San Jose team that came into the match leading MLS in goals with 15 goals scored. They also give up goals in double digits, but then again, so do we through 8 matches with 10 goals surrendered. So it was supposed to be a high-scoring back-and-forth affair. I thought it would be 3-1. Lafferty thought it would be 4-1, and it didn't quite make it there, but we did get to 2-1. I believe the over-under was 3, like right there on the number. So that's a push for everybody out there betting all that mythical money. But that being said, it was still a very fun match. We saw plenty of opportunities from all the big stars, obviously Denis Bouanga and Chicho Arango, Joseph Martinez in the building. So let's get right into it here. As this is a solo Scarf endeavor, I don't imagine you all want to listen to me talk all that long. So here we go. LAFC taking on San Jose, and of course, head coach Bruce Arena. Our friends at Happy Foot, Sad Foot still wondering what Bruce Arena did, and that was kind of funny for them on social media. There is no doubt that Bruce Arena is the GOAT when it comes to Major League Soccer coaches, with all due respect to guys like Siggy Schmid and Brian Schmetzer. It's got to be Bruce Arena and then everybody else so far. He comes out in a 3-5-2, and they've had 4 players this season who had not come off the pitch through their first 7 matches. That's 630 minutes played, and 3 of those would continue the streak, but the one who would not would be goalkeeper Daniel. Daniel started the game. Unfortunately, in about the 20th minute, got into some contact, it looked like, with Olivier Giroud, and it was absolutely deemed a concussion substitution because San Jose was allowed 5 more substitutions. 5 more substitutions after the injury. And the only way you can get a 6th substitution would be if one of those is from a concussion. So hopefully Daniel is okay. There's going to be way too much concussion talk on this podcast today, that's for sure. But Daniel would start in goal along with San Jose's unequivocal player of the match on the back line. Rodriguez was incredible for San Jose. Along with him on the back line are 2 other players who had not come out in the season for San Jose: the much-traveled and very familiar Dave Romney and defender Bruno Wilson, who we have a lot to thank Bruno Wilson for in this game, and I'll talk about that in just a quick second. In the midfield, again, a player who might be under the radar in terms of superstar names in Major League Soccer, but as good as any midfielder in CONCACAF, Christian Espinoza, who has now played against LAFC 19 times, more than any other club in his career and more than almost any other player that LAFC has ever faced. And all he has done in those 19 matches, 5 goals and 11 assists. 11 assists are 6 more than anybody else against LAFC all time. So if you don't think that Christian Espinoza has the dates that they play the black and gold circled on his calendar, you are mistaken. He came into the match tied with 5 assists, the league lead in MLS, 3rd in MLS with 89 free kicks and 15 successful crosses. The man is simply always on the ball. You can never let up on him for a second, as we found out in the 5th minute of second half stoppage time. He is a great player in this league. Joining him in the midfield is John Harkes' kid, Ian Harkes, along with Vitor Costa, Nico Sakiris, and Bo Leroux. And up top, their 2 players up top are without a need for an introduction, but Josef Martinez, who has authored well over 100 goals in his MLS career and an all-time leading 7 hat tricks. And I was very excited to be able to watch Josef Martinez play. And of course, at the other forward, a man who only played 58 matches for LAFC, but etched his name into the record books as the 4th leading scorer in LAFC history. And we absolutely loved him when he was here. The truest of the number 9s that LAFC has ever had, at least so far. Chicho Arango, 35 goals, 6 assists in black and gold, behind only Carlos Vela, Denis Bouanga, and Diego Rossi. And it was certainly nice to see Chicho on the pitch. He was still doing some Chicho things out there, and of course, super pissed at the referees at the end, but we'll talk about whether that should have been a handball call or not. In the 18, the players that we would see, we mentioned it, we would see 6 substitutions, beginning with their backup keeper, Earl Edwards Jr., who Bruce Arena brought over with him from the New England Revolution, Amal Pellegrino, Useni Buddha, Daniel Mooney, Preston Judd. And the cool thing about Preston Judd, by the way, Preston Judd is a massive soccer card collector. He has his own breaking platform. He is all over the place. Excuse me, in the card world. Preston Judd, a big-time soccer collector, which is kind of cool. I've seen him rip all kinds of things on the internets. So kind of neat to see Preston Judd out there. And, of course, one of the 6 substitutions that would be made, a player who played 89 matches for LAFC, 9 goals, 17 assists, the 8th most assists all time in LAFC history. Of course, the Canadian glory machine himself, Mark Anthony K. That rounds out the 18 for San Jose. For LAFC, switching up the formation a little bit, going with a 3-4-3 with Hugo Lloris in goal, Eddie Segura, Maxime Chanot making his 2025 debut back from concussion, Aaron Long, Ryan Hollingshead, and Sergi Palencia on the outside of Igor Jesus and Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch Delgado. And it was Denis Bouanga, Nathan Ordaz, and in the middle at the number 9 spot, having his most productive match of the season. Dare I say, most productive match in a black and gold shirt, Olivier Giroud. We would see Marlon Cengiz under Timothy Tillman and Adrian Webowo would get a minute or two of action in this one. Actually, like 15 minutes of action if you count stoppage time. Also on the bench for us, David Ochoa and Kosi Tafari, Yaya Boa, Artem Smolyakov, and Odin Tiago Holm. And we are going to get right into it. By the way, the window closes April 23rd for new signings. So that date coming up in just 10 days from right now. Not sure Kai Kamara is going to be among the signings if we have any free agents that we want to bring in or anybody that we want to do a cash trade with or anything else going on. I don't think it'll be Kai Kamara, which is kind of a bummer. But look, we can keep the pressure on. Bring back Kai. Let's get it all over social media. Hashtag sign Kai. I would love that because we need to bring another number 9 back in here, as well as Olivier Giroud played. It's time, I think, to understand that we need a true 9 out there. For LAFC, it didn't take long for us to start creating chances because, you know, that's what Steve Trundolo usually helps us do. He puts in the tactics so that we can create some really good chances. We can be upset at the players for not finishing those chances. I just don't understand being upset at the coach for not finishing those chances because he has to stand over on the sideline. He doesn't get to put on a uniform and go play. He did that a lot for Hannover 96, but even then, he was just one of the Bundesliga's best defenders for about 10, 12 years, not a player who puts away chances. That's me just subtly saying hi to all the Dolo out people. Love you all so much. Genuine Cougar says, by the way, yes, Giroud contributed a little bit, but pretty anemic for a DP. All I'll say, Coug, is you gotta walk before you can run. And you know what? A lot of the times out there on the pitch, Olivier Giroud didn't walk. He actually got back on side a couple of times and did a lot of things. So again, a much more productive game for Olivier Giroud. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. And Ruben will definitely talk about Maxime Chanot and how well I thought he had played in limited minutes. But 10 minutes in, we have a missed sitter alert. And by the way, the first person to admit that they missed a sitter last night in the press conference was number 99 himself, Denis Bouanga. My favorite moment of the broadcast last night, Max Bretos. First of all, Nathan Ordaz does a wonderful job to win the ball on the left-hand side, a little give and go, a little 1-2 touch with Marky Delgado before Ordaz crosses it into the box. Giroud, a little bit of a dummy run, which worked out well. Again, Giroud not walking, but making a nice dummy run there to a wide open Denis Bouanga. And having just celebrated his birthday, Max Bretos was obviously very excited to call a goal for Denis Bouanga. And he says, they've got to finish this one. They don't. It was a hilarious call there from Max Bretos. Denis puts it about 25 rows up into the south end. And Denis, you could just tell he was pressing. Denis Bouanga has not scored in the MLS regular season in 2025. In fact, the last time that Denis Bouanga scored in the MLS regular season was last October against the San Jose Earthquakes. More on that to come. And Hugo Lloris, 4 minutes later, making the absolute save of the match. Eddie Segura going to ground. Maxime Chanot getting caught watching. And who's on the other end of it? But the man with 7 hat tricks in Major League Soccer, 118, I believe, if not 119 goals in Major League Soccer. That would be Joseph Martinez. They used to call him King Joseph in Atlanta. And nothing standing in between him and San Jose's first goal except Hugo. But Hugo was there denying Joseph from about 10 yards. I mean, huge save from Hugo Lloris. I'm a little bummed at Ugo a little bit later in the game, but this one, starting off right, he also made kind of an awkward but nice save against Chicho Arango just about 8 minutes later in the 22nd minute. And I love, again, I really enjoyed watching this ball back, or watching this match back, I should say. Kick a Ball Pod. I'm actually going to talk about that last thing in just a minute. I really enjoyed watching this match back because while we were there last night, we got to sit in some pretty cool seats last night, but while we were there last night, we don't get to hear the call from Max Bretos. So when I get to watch it back and I get to hear Max Bretos, for instance, in the 28th minute, call an Igor Jesus switch of a ball to Sergi Palencia, a terrestrial pass. I just love those little things by Max Bretos. A great look from Nathan Ordaz in the 28th minute. Ryan Hollingshead finding Igor Jesus to Sergi Palencia on the terrestrial pass. And Sergi finding Ordaz, top of the box, turns and fires just wide of the far post. And I love the confidence of Nathan Ordaz on this one. And to close out the half, it was a great ball from Olivier Giroud to Ryan Hollingshead in plenty of space. A chance-creating pass from Olivier Giroud. A wonderful job on the pass by Olivier. Ryan could have taken the shot, but he looked for a low cross to Denis Bouanga because he's trying to feed the alpha dog and get him off that goose egg for the season. But it was Rodriguez who made an incredible breakup, that this ball going off the post and out of bounds. He just looked great. I really like the connection between LAFC several different times in the first half, albeit unable to finish their chances, but they were creating some very good ones. And we did a pretty good job of boxing San Jose's two strikers, Chicho Arango, Joseph Martinez. We were controlling Espinoza as much as we could. He wasn't as dominant on the ball as San Jose certainly wants him to be in that first half. So we would come out of halftime making no changes whatsoever, and neither would San Jose. A little confused why in the 53rd minute, Chicho has so much room at the top of the 18, and another great save from Hugo Lloris. He looked really dialed in on this one for about 95 minutes or so. In the 73rd minute, a huge break for LAFC as San Jose's man of the match, Rodriguez, wins the ball, middle of the park. It takes like a weird deflection, goes right to Chicho Arango, but he wasn't offside when he received the ball, but obviously it was when the ball was first played, even though it took a deflection off of an LAFC defender. When the ball was first played by Rodriguez, Chicho Arango was offside. So even though that ball touches an LAFC defender, it's when the ball was played. So we got very, very lucky as Chicho turns, fires into the back of the net, but the offside flag is up. So no goal for San Jose. 73rd minute there. I flashed ahead way too much because apparently I put my notes out of order. But let's talk about our first goal in the 65th minute. That's funny. I never do something like that. I gotta go back and take a look at why I did that. 65th minute. Denis Bouanga left open on the left side, makes one move past his defender, draws him inside for sure, and fires. Earl Edwards Jr. making the save. And again, Earl Edwards Jr. only in the match because about 20 minutes in, Olivier Giroud and goalkeeper Daniel for San Jose, there had to have been some contact made there. I mean, I'm really confused as to why, if there was contact, there's no call on Olivier Giroud. If it was just deemed incidental and two players going for the ball, okay, I guess that's one thing. But a little confused at that whole thing. So Earl Edwards Jr. checking into the match. And look, made a great first save on Denis Bouanga, but unfortunately, that ball popping all the way out to, oh, wait, that was Sergi Palencia with the laser beam. An absolute rocket from Sergi Palencia. I mean, I don't think we've seen a player strike the ball with that much force. Sergi Palencia called it faith that he made contact with the ball with. And all that did was snap a 2,888-day streak in which Sergi Palencia had scored. His last goal coming May 14th, 2017 for Barcelona B, 2,888 days ago. And yeah, Cougar, if Schmurdy called that goal by Palencia, yeah, 5,000 to 1 odds. Unbelievable. That's so cool. I love it. Congratulations to Sergi Palencia. Nobody happier than him in the press conference last night. I did ask him about the goal drought, and he just went, wow, that was a long time in between goals, that's for sure. So stoked for Sergi Palencia. 2 minutes later, nervous time for LAFC. I'll be perfectly honest. I took a video of him coming off the pitch. It just never looked good. He pointed to his head just a couple of times. But LAFC subbing off Maxime Chanot, who just appeared to kind of go down behind the play for Marlon. And again, I asked Steve Cherundolo in the press conference, Steve, did he come off for a lower body injury? Was it something with his legs, or was it, his head, concussion related? He said, I wasn't sure. I followed up with a clarification question. Again, he's like, I just don't have a medical update right now, but he said, thank you for asking. So he thanked me for asking, so I'll take that. But it just didn't look good. Again, like I said, he pointed at his head a few times as he was coming off to a couple different players who asked. And we talked about it at the top of the episode. This was his 2025 debut because of concussion-related issues. And look, there was a very, very good defender for several MLS teams named Ike Opara, whose career was ended because of concussion symptoms and concussion-related issues. Not something you want to see, especially from a player who means so much to our back line, who had an absolutely rock solid game. Lunch Special Geo, I just don't agree with you on the Dolo out, so we can agree to disagree. Maxime Chanot had a rock solid game back there, really looked confident over the course of his 65 or so minutes out there. So really hoping, first and foremost, that Maxime Chanot is healthy, does not have to deal with all of these concussion symptoms, and can get back to being healthy. And then if it is deemed that it is safe for him to suit up again for the black and gold, that he can get back out there as soon as possible. But when it comes to concussions, first and foremost, you have to make sure there is no long-term damage, or at least minimizing whatever the effect that these concussions can cause. I've had a couple in my life, and they are scary, scary things. And it turns out, I don't want to let the cat out of the bag here, I'm not a professional athlete. So I can't imagine what it's like having to be a professional athlete and to try and keep your body in shape while still recovering from concussion-like symptoms. It's not great if he's trying to push himself a little bit too much there. So really want to make sure that Maxime Chanot is healthy and all his baselines are good, and everything that's related to this concussion is able to be set aside. And then I would say, honestly, and I know, again, I'm not breaking any news here, but LAFC, after all of his tests and everything seemed normal and he might be good to go, sit him out for another week or two. Just make sure that his livelihood can be preserved if these are concussion-related issues. They are scary, and we all hope the best for Maxime Chanot. Also in that same minute, Cengiz Under substituted on for Nathan Ordaz. Thought Nathan Ordaz had a wonderful shift again. And again, think about what we're asking Nathan Ordaz to do. David Martinez unavailable, Jeremy Abobasi unavailable for this one. So really excited to see the continued growth of one Nathan Ordaz. We had a sub in the scarf minute, and it was a good one, y'all. Timothy Tillman coming on for Marky Delgado on the 83rd minute. We get to do something in the scarf minute. That's always fun. And this would prove a wise substitution for Steve Cherundolo and LAFC, as just 3 minutes later, what turned out to be a massively needed insurance goal Timothy Tillman providing the turnover. Who would have thought that the way we were playing and how well we had controlled things, that this would wind up being the match winner? And it's because of Timothy Tillman, just like he did twice against Miami, stepping in front nicely for a great takeaway. And he immediately pushes the pass up to a wide open and onside Olivier Giroud. Not because he hustled back, although he did take a step or two back in an onside direction, but because of Bruno Wilson, who has not come off the pitch at all this season for San Jose. 720 minutes played through this one. But Bruno Wilson was just kind of drifting back, no real purpose, keeping Olivier Giroud onside. And I don't think Olivier thought he had as much time and space as he did. So he turned, maybe fired a little early, didn't get under the ball enough on that one. And the save made by, my name is Earl Edwards Jr., but just like he did with Denis' shot earlier that pinballed back out to Sergi Palencia, with Olivier Giroud's shot, it spills out to Denis Bouanga, who, I mean, how French was that goal where I will calmly slide into the box and hit the ball with my foot, and it will barely trickle past two defenders into the back of the net. Instead of hammering it home and just announcing his presence with authority, which I would have loved. I know he's Gabonese, but come on. It was a very French goal there for Denis Bouanga. Loved it for him. Congrats. And that one is Denis Bouanga's first MLS regular season goal of 2025. And like we said before, his first MLS regular season goal since last October against San Jose. His 73rd goal in all competitions for LAFC, now just 20 behind Carlos Vela all time in an LAFC uniform. And I'm going to make a prediction, folks, right here on Defenders of the Bank. Clip it. Save the receipt for what I'm about to say. Denis Bouanga is now 20 goals behind Carlos Vela, 93-73 all time in a black and gold shirt. Denis Bouanga will pass Carlos Vela this season. That's right. I am predicting at least 21 more goals for Denis Bouanga this season in all competitions. Not necessarily MLS, but we've got Leagues Cup still to play. And I think, and of course playoffs, I think he is going to get 21 more goals this season to get to 94, to pass Carlos Vela and become the all-time leading scorer in an LAFC shirt, which, I mean, seems kind of crazy. I would have thought Carlos Vela had more than 93. I would have loved to have seen Carlos somehow get to triple digits and be the first LAFC player to get to 100. But as long as he stays with us, I do believe Denis Bouanga, not this season, but I mean, hopefully that would be pretty sweet. Not this season, but Denis Bouanga will be the first to score 100 goals in an LAFC shirt. Oh, by the way, his 0.61 goals per game in an LAFC shirt is number one all time. Who is number two at 0.60? So 0.61 to 0.60. That would be Chicho Arango for San Jose, who we played, obviously, in this match. Just a couple of thoughts from the mouth of Denis Bouanga. It's always complicated to score the first goal, Bouanga said. I missed another opportunity. Now that I scored that goal, it should be okay. Other goals are going to come. And he said later on in the press conference, I felt that I should have scored two. We know, Denis. We know. That was a sitter for sure. Ruben asking if the Carlos Vela saga is over. Is he not coming back? He sure looks comfortable in whatever he's doing on Instagram all the time. So, no, I don't think Carlos is coming back anymore unless he starts training right now to be ready for, I don't know, August. I don't know. I don't like the chances of Carlos Vela coming back. I would love Carlos Vela back. I mean, I don't know how much he has left in the tank, but I think the ship has sailed and it's time for Carlos to come back to BMO Stadium so that he can receive his flowers and eventually a statue outside of BMO Stadium. But yeah, I think it's all over. Let's talk about in the 89th minute, Adrien Webowo coming on for Olivier Giroud. Congrats to Adrien Webowo, by the way. His second bit of MLS minutes, or I guess in this case, minute, as he made his LAFC debut against Sporting Kansas City back on March 22nd. Although Adrien Webowo did just play for LAFC 2 in their 2-1 loss to AV Alta FC in the U.S. Open Cup. So happy to see Adrien Webowo getting a few minutes, or I guess a minute, but there was 13 plus minutes of stoppage time. So he did have plenty of time out on the pitch for sure for LAFC. But he comes on for Olivier Giroud, and there's no mistaking that this was Olivier Giroud's most productive match, at least of the season, for LAFC, if not in a black and gold shirt. Yeah, he didn't find the back of the net on what was a very, very good chance, and a couple of times where I would like him to be a little bit stronger on the ball. But in his 89 minutes played, he did register 2 shots and created 2 chances. He didn't pass great at all. He's never passed great at all for LAFC. He was only 15 of 27, 56% passing. That is not good from Olivier Giroud, but he did have 46 touches in the match. So at least we're finding ways to get him some touches. 4 touches in the opponent's box. He absorbed 3 fouls, and if you were watching the match, it maybe should have been 5 or 6 or 7. And he did win 11 of 19 duels, which I really liked how much stronger he was playing. Although, again, there were a couple of duels that he lost that I was like, Olivier, got to get you a little bit stronger on the ball. But he did win 11 of 19 duels. Thought it was a solid shift for Olivier Giroud. Not a DP, excuse me, not a DP worthy shift, but a solid start. And again, you have to be able to walk before you run. And I thought Olivier Giroud did enough in this match for at least for me to believe that, okay, maybe we're on to something. Maybe we're on the right track. The question still remains. Without a ball served into the box, can Olivier Giroud figure out how to score? Because I think if we can get him good service, he'll put the ball in a good spot and he will score. But without perfect service, can Olivier do it? And I don't know what the answer is to that question. I really don't. I don't know how much longer we're going to be able to continue to ask that question. But it's a pretty important question that needs to be answered somewhat soon. Want to say hi to LAFC Wolf over on Instagram as well. Shout out to you, buddy. Thank you for being one of the millions and millions. There's nobody else. I don't know who to talk to. It's a thing. 10 minutes of stoppage time shown on the board. I think obviously a lot of that having to do with Maxime Chanot and his injury. I don't know where they got 10 minutes from. 10 seemed like a lot, but I guess getting the keeper to get ready and Maxime needing to come off, and I don't know. 10 minutes seemed like an awful lot. 5 minutes would have been fine in terms of stoppage time. So how pissed off would the LAFC faithful? How pissed would the LAFC faithful have been if that insurance goal by Denis Bouanga doesn't happen and we give up a goal? Oh, that's right. There was a pitch invader. You're right. Genuine Cougar. There was also a pitch invader during stoppage time, which, by the way, don't be an idiot. Don't run on the pitch. I think it's like a year ban from all MLS stadiums and like a big fine after that. So don't run onto the pitch. That's real stupid. But still added to a couple of minutes of stoppage time for sure. In the 5th minute, a great job by San Jose to keep the ball in on that, what would that be? The east sideline there of BMO, that left-hand sideline. The ball eventually finds Chicho Aranga to Christian Espinoza to Joseph Martinez and back to Christian Espinoza. So the ball touches the 3 most talented players and it pinballs back and forth. I didn't think Christian Espinoza got much on the shot. I thought that Hugo Lloris, 5 minutes left to keep your clean sheet, my friend. You got caught a little flat-footed there in the box. Christian Espinoza did a wonderful job to get the shot off quickly. He really did a wonderful job to get the shot off quickly. But that being said, a little disappointed in Hugo's effort on that one. There goes the clean sheet. It's 2-1. It's Christian Espinoza doing Christian Espinoza things against LAFC. Maybe a genuine Cougar trying to say maybe he couldn't see it coming from his perspective. Maybe he was boxed out. I don't know. I just don't think it was a great effort for Bouanga. I think he got caught a little flat-footed. Steve said something along the lines of we need to figure out how to come away from this match 3-0 instead of 2-1, which I thought was indicative maybe of what happened in the very last minute. In fact, the very last touches of the match in the 13th minute. Cengiz Under, who came in, like I said, for Nathan Ordaz at the same time that Maxime Chanot came off the pitch for Marlin. Cengiz Under going for glory instead of being an unselfish teammate. The turnover by San Jose giving LAFC the ball with massive numbers, but instead of driving the ball forward and maybe finding Ryan Hollingshead for what would be his 40th goal in all competitions in his career, Cengiz Under attempted a 50-plus yarder that, to put it mildly, went drifting well wide of the goal, trying to catch Earl Edwards out, which not a terrible idea, but the execution of it was pretty poor, Cengiz. And that would be that. One of the stories of the match right before all of that, San Jose was screaming for a handball potentially in the box. I went back and looked at it. It was just really hard to see. Couldn't find a good angle. But according to the official, VAR checked it, and it was not a handball. Some of the arguments after the match, some of the San Jose players went up, and the official was pointing to his ear saying, we checked it, there was nothing. We checked it, and there was nothing. So LAFC escaping a little bit with this 2-1 victory. It's not the resounding announcing yourselves back as an MLS Cup contender result, but it is 3 points, and it is defending your home and defending BMO Stadium. So look, all you can ask for are 3 points. Yes, it is perfectly fine to ask how or why we won things and question the way that we did, but the tactics look good again. It's not Steve Cherundolo who can finish any of these chances. And I think what we saw were players playing very, very, very good defense on the season. And again, with Bouanga, Giroux, and Under, as much as we love David Martinez, who needs to play, by the way, he's super talented, but just coming off that injury, David Martinez needs to play. And Nathan Ordaz has been a revelation. And Jeremy Abobasi is there as a luxury depth piece. We want Denis Bouanga, Olivier Giroux, and Cengiz Under on the pitch if they're the ones that are playing, if they're the ones that are playing well. But I just don't know still if Olivier is the guy. Although that being said, I guess we're going to give him some more opportunities. What I love about this last stretch, y'all, and again, I know it's been a solo scarf endeavor. Really appreciate you guys all hanging out with me and only me for like the last 45 minutes. What we really need to figure out, look, is that we have 5 matches in 30 days, beginning with this one. So we are going to, as Steve Cherundolo said, what it means is LAFC is going to be able to play full speed ahead for 90 minutes. For 90 minutes in the next 5 matches, or I guess the next 4 matches, full speed ahead. We are going to have plenty of training sessions. We are going to have plenty of time to work on things. And again, LAFC with 5 matches in 30 days and the ability to focus solely on MLS for quite a while should lead to some wonderful things. And I thought we started this 5-game stretch off with 3 points by holding a very high-powered San Jose offense down the way I thought we might. I did say it would be 3-1 instead of 2-1. But I truly believe that we will go 5-0 in this stretch. And that does include going up to Vancouver, who's playing very good football right now. We get we get St. Louis and Houston both at home while getting Portland and Vancouver on the road. I think it's going to be a great test. LAFC needs to win at least 4 of these 5, and in my opinion, will win all 5. And that way, I like to see where we're at in the Supporters' Shield race. We're 7 points back of Vancouver right now. And Vancouver, by the way, looks great. I'm not underestimating Vancouver for a second. But what I am saying is that over the course of these 30 days, all LAFC has to do in terms of travel is go to Portland and go to Vancouver. Those are not difficult flights. Those are not difficult trips. And, oh, by the way, the same time zone, right? So we don't have to adjust. We just got to get the flying out of our legs there and be able to play solid matches on the road. But those other teams are coming here. So there should be plenty of time right now for LAFC to figure everything out, for Steve Trundle to figure out his rotations, hopefully to get Maxime Chanot healthy, hopefully to get players like David Martinez healthy, Jeremy Abobasi healthy, Lorenzo Della Valle. I would love to see what we have with Lorenzo Della Valle. But that being said, this is the start of some good things, y'all. We're going to give you Maxime Chanot updates if we can. Absolutely love Ruben Rios for his comment, always, as you can imagine. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Oh, and I said I'd mention this. Shout out to LAFC Larry and his Chicago Cubs for putting the worst home shutout loss on the Dodgers in their history, 16-0. Here's what I know, you guys. Miguel Rojas is not a pitcher. He's not a pitcher. We love our Dodgers here in Los Angeles. You guys know I'm a diehard Mets fan, but anytime I get to watch Shohei Ohtani play, it's really fun. But shout out to Larry, 16-0. Miguel Rojas, no more pitching. That being said, you guys, I love you all. Thank you all for your support. However it is that you consume Defenders of the Bank content, we so appreciate and love you. And you know how we like to end all 355 of our episodes. Bye-bye.